Okay, for my UBD 1 assignment, first thing I did was I picked one of my favorite topics from high school history. I think that was important for me uh, to pick something that I was interested in history to make it a little easier to do the assignments. Um, Second thing I did was when creating the learning outcomes, I felt it was most important. I created the ones that I thought were most important and pertinent to the students' understanding of the topic. Too often, I think teachers create learning outcomes and essential questions that kind of just go through the motions. They don't actually uh, help the student to learn. Um, and I felt it necessary to create questions and learning outcomes that would incorporate student thought and some sort of higher thinking. And then one of the questions I included in the essential questions was how can the student utilize this information? And I included that for two reasons. One was because I think it's very important that there's some sort of applied knowledge in the classroom. It's not just all inert factual knowledge. And an article that supported my theory was by Stephen Scoffham, who's actually an Englishman, but he wrote an article about the value of applied knowledge. And the quote I used from him talked about how applied knowledge builds on previous experiences and enables us to learn and see the world in a different way than we would have normally. And interestingly enough, Scoffham also talks about Bloom's taxonomy and the importance of creativity and imagination in higher learning in the same section. Alright, for my UBD 2 assignment, there were 4 things that I went in to the assignment looking that I knew I wanted to incorporate. Those things were research practice, allowing creative freedom, public speaking practice, scholarly writing practice. All 4 of those things I believe are invaluable life tools that you can use at any time. Apart from those primary reasons though, creating a personal presentation can be entertaining for a student. I understand that it can also be nerve-wracking, but for the vast majority I believe that it can be entertaining when you allow some sort of creative freedom. An article I found by Rebecca Gemma or Gemma, I'm not sure exactly how to say her name. She has an article entitled "Encouraging Student Voice in Academic Writing," and the subcaption is board students, board papers. The article is about the importance of allowing students to write about something that, or write or do an assignment about something that they are interested in, not just assigning them a topic. And a quote from her article is, "In general, I got more passionate and convincing arguments from students when I asked them to write about their connections and reactions to text and their themes rather than when I asked them to write about character analysis, tone, and symbolism, for example." And I think this ties directly into why I incorporated creative freedom into my UBD 2. Okay, and for my UBD 3 assignment, I felt this was probably the hardest UBD that I did, simply because it focused more on the small details than the big picture. But essentially what I did is I just expanded on my first two UBD assignments, and went through and worked out all the fine details. Since there was so much information already available to me about my lesson in UBD 1 and 2, this UBD 3 was simply going through, ironing out any kinks in the lesson plan, working out fine details, figuring out what we were going to do every day and all that kind of stuff. I chose to do lecturing as my primary method of teaching, with PowerPoint I use as a supplemental tool. I feel that lecturing is the best and most efficient way to get to teach a history class. And that's the way I was always taught, and I feel like that is the most efficient way to do it. But I understand that there are students that don't learn using lecturing. That's why I incorporated a PowerPoint as a supplemental tool. And in my UBD 3, I also talked about the importance of group discussion, which is another one of my big of what I'm a big proponent of. However, there were some problems with my UBD 3. I found it difficult to figure out a way to integrate my my technology ideas, and this is actually covered in an article that's by a man by the name of Todd Oppenheimer, and his article is a little extreme, but it's titled "The Flickering Mind: The False Promise of Technology in the Classroom and How Learning Can Be Saved." But one of the things that he talks about in it is the implementation of the technology. He went around to all these schools around the country and saw a theme in the classroom, and it consisted of high hopes, uncritical planning and investment, slipshod at implementation, and negligible and sometimes actually negative results. And I found that to be true when thinking of my UBD 3 implementation of technology. I found it was kind of hard to put down on paper what I had in my mind. Okay, there are four main things that I learned while doing the UBDs. One is that planning is essential, which is rather hard for me to admit. I'm not much of a planner, but this allows the process of each 1, 2, and 3 UBDs allows you to get your ideas started with UBD 1, and then all you have to do is expand on them in UBD 2 and 3. The second thing is that technology can be used as a supplemental tool as well as a primary learning device. Prior to doing these UBDs, and really the class in general, I had no idea that you were able to use technology as a primary learning device, where you could have a kid sit down and he could be taught a whole lesson without ever having to listen to a lecture or talk face to face with a teacher. The fourth thing is that the possibilities are virtually endless. Being in the class and hearing about all these different apps and all this different technology, it almost boggles your mind how many possibilities there are to use. And the fourth thing, and probably the most important thing, is that I've found while researching the different topics for my UBDs that there is research and there are countless studies supporting both sides of whether or not technology works in the classroom or it doesn't, or this is how you do it this way, this is how it should be done, all that kind of stuff. But I've come to the conclusion that the best research will be best conducted in your own classroom, and and you can find out what works best for your students.